Trump dialing up more tariffs to China up to 145%. The 10% tariffs I mentioned, which are still in place, has begun to fuel even more of the fear and uncertainty that led to the market crashes, which had Trump backing off and retreating yesterday. If he were to retreat entirely, you wouldn't get back to zero, but you would get away from some of the worst problems. But he's only retreated partially, and the uncertainty is feeding this.
Stocks are selling off sharply again today as a new reality sinks in. And let's start with some numbers. 1,500 is about the amount of points the Dow is down right now. And of course, the biggie, 145%. That's the total tariff rate on China now.
After the historic rally we saw yesterday, the Dow tumbles as the White House says its tariffs on China are actually higher than what the president had announced yesterday.
The S&P down more than 3%.
Market sell-off is accelerating. Straight up yesterday, down significantly this morning. Janet Yellen, she says Trump's economic policies are the worst self-inflicted wound by an administration on a well-functioning economy. Markets down.
The worst. You were just watching Fox coverage. That's one of the Fox News channels, Fox Business, quoting the Wall Street Journal, which I'm going to read to you in more depth in a moment. But what you're seeing there is that some realities can't be denied. This isn't working. And as the Wall Street Journal emphasized, it didn't need to be this way. This is not one of those unpredictable or confusing market meltdowns that takes months to investigate because of macroeconomics. This is Trump. Trump, Trump, Trump. This is Trump policy. Don't take my word for it. I'm quoting the Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, which is both a financial Bible and it leans right, and the editorial page supported basically Donald Trump's election. It is a turnaround from what was the initial excitement about him backing off it all yesterday. One report says the euphoria is fading, and any on-paper gains that appeared yesterday are getting wiped out again. The top 500 companies down another 3.5 points and down 6% in the last month. So you see the bit of relief yesterday, as we told you last night, didn't go anywhere near back to the economy that Trump was inheriting, and it's down another 3.5 points today. The Dow down over 2 points, down over 5 from the last month. Another way to say it, if you're not into all the charts, I'll put it like this. If Donald Trump just didn't go to work for the last 2 weeks, none of these $6 trillion mistakes would be happening. If Donald Trump just golfed for the last 2 weeks like he had when the crisis hit that he started, if he just golfed instead of messing with monetary trade and international economic policy, you wouldn't have these problems. There is a level of illogic here that you have to address. And it may sound unkind to say that a president and his entire policy are illogical or worse. We don't mean it as criticism or opinion. We mean that there is no logic to be found in what he's been doing, and the markets in this country and abroad are reacting. The Times reports on how Trump scaled back the tariffs. The real credit, Trump's advisors admit, goes to the bond markets. Mr. Trump's decision driven by, quote, fear. Fear, not strategy, fear, not strength. This is according to the New York Times sourcing inside the White House and elsewhere, that the tariff scandal could turn into a, quote, financial crisis, unlike the two previous crashes of the past 20 years, which I just mentioned to you, that were complicated, the global financial crisis of '08, fed by synthetic securities and real estate, and the completely uncontrollable pandemic of 2020. Unlike those, the Times writes, this crisis would have been directly attributable to only one man, Donald Trump. Now I'll go to the striking quote in Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal, which was read aloud on Fox, so Fox viewers and other conservatives are hearing about this, as well as able to check their own retirement accounts. Quote, Trump told advisors he was willing to take pain. He privately acknowledged his trade policy could trigger a recession, but said he wanted to be sure it didn't cause a depression. That's the Journal's financial reporting. Other outlets saying Trump blinked. While the chaos is not over. The market swings that are a response to Trump, the uncertainty which prices in choices he's made or refused to make, and the way that he has freestyled all of this improv to the very end, to the point that when they did try to stop the bleeding yesterday, you still had confusion on the White House lawn about which countries and which tariffs still applied, which doesn't give confidence even as they back off the worst parts of it that the market said, okay, thank goodness it's not this. But none of this is logical, and much of it is being announced inconsistently. That's not the secure guidance you want for the global economy. It also undercuts the few talking points that were thrown out on the right to try to make sense of the illogic. Look at the contrast between Trump allies yesterday claiming it was all a secret plan to back down without getting anything back when the markets were a little relieved that it wasn't going as far as it could have, versus today's reality.
We begin with the art of the deal. Told you this was going to happen.
Trump announced a brilliant move to pause the higher tariffs.
Stocks after that announcement shot up on the news.
A huge win for the president, a huge win for the country.
It's genius.
The haters, the doubters, all the people on the left wing, they were all proven wrong. They all, as usual, end up with egg on their face.
That was last night. Who has egg on their face now? Who was proven wrong? The point is not to single out Mr. Hannity or anyone else making claims that are factually false if you just look at a week-long stock chart. The point is that the stakes are too high to do the usual political spin. Here we are, the market's plunging a day later. And then the timing. The Associated Press reporting Trump publicly urging people to buy online hours before he made the pause that he would, according to the timeline, appear to have known when he posted that, signing it himself DJT. But that's also a stock symbol for his company. Quote, it's not clear if Trump was saying buy stocks in general or his stock, Trump Media, which did close up double the broader market. Remember all the talk about draining the swamp? Or the claim that having a businessman, high net worth president, whatever his exact wealth, he's richer than an average person who's done public service their whole life, that would somehow insulate us from this stuff. In fact, it looks like the opposite. He's got his own Bitcoin-style currency that he's been hawking. Elon Musk has promoted his currency while in office, but also in business. They recently held a Tesla demonstration at the White House. Tesla's been battered by all this. There are big questions, even amidst the priority of first stabilizing the markets, about whether corruption is seeping into what the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal agree is a Trump-induced crisis with the risk of being one of the greatest crashes in the last several decades.
Who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs? And are people cashing in?
This could be an enormous scam.
There is just all too much opportunity for people in the White House and the administration to be insider trading, and you can't put it past them for a minute.
I'm very interested in what members of Congress have been buying and trading stocks in the last 24 hours prior to this tariff announcement.
Those are some of the questions that lawmakers are asking, so we're showing you the news of what they're saying. I want to be clear in fact-checking that there has not been any formal claim of insider trading against anyone. This is all happening fast, nor have the federal entities that are supposed to do this independently. They're not supposed to have any political bias. SEC and others are not saying anything about this. So we're not reporting on some new finding, but we're showing you serious questions lawmakers are asking. Wall Street is not calmed even after the initial kind of exhale that this might not go on as bad as it looked forever, because Trump did retreat a bit. But here's J.P. Morgan. They tell their own investors, we still think a contraction this year is more likely than not. And then I showed you the Wall Street Journal reporting, then the editorial board, which is a different part of the paper, of course. They're the ones that do endorsements and more politics. The editorial board says these moves are evidence markets believe the biggest threat to the world economy is Mr. Trump's tariffs. I'm going to leave that on the screen for another moment. This is the Wall Street Journal, as I mentioned, kind of a financial Bible. They're the sister outlet of Fox News. They care a bit more sometimes about financial issues than pure partisan politics. That would be the clear message today. Everyone in the White House, everyone around Trump can see this. This is still Murdoch's empire. And they are saying, I repeat, the markets think the biggest threat to the world economy is Trump's tariffs. That's just one view. Then you have people who do economics for an actual living and do it independently. So they're not just talking on behalf of, say, one company or the recession outlook predictions I've shown you from some of the top banks. The Nobel Prize winning economist, Paul Krugman, writing in his newsletter destructive uncertainty about future policy has increased. And he can walk you through in plain English, which is one of the reasons he's a popular economist, not just a Nobel-winning one, what that uncertainty is. He dates it to exactly Donald Trump's choices, emotions, style of, or failure of leadership, and says the prices are only going up. There's also a market measure that tries to look at uncertainty. This is the volatility index. I'll put this in full for everyone. These are, of course, rough measures. But what you see here, according to many market analysts, to how Krugman references it, is a volatility that's going up and is a problem, not because of some uncontrolled international development, but because of how Donald Trump is leading or failing to lead.